Ladies and gentlemen, here we are again with Real Deal Talk, and today, I'm telling you, and you know how I do it, you know how excited I get over my guest, but this guy right here, Mr. Jeff Bristol, co-owner of Fitness Quest 10, and one of the most incredible guys I've ever met in my entire life. And you guys know how I do this. You know, lately I've been, I had a huge guest list in the beginning where I had people mapped out for, or scheduled out for months at a time, right? Months ahead of time. Mm-hmm. But recently I've been kind of just letting things come to me on the fly. So if God highlights someone to me on the fly, I'm like, you know what? This is the next guest that's going to come in. And that's what I've been doing lately. And Jeff Bristol, and I actually will say this, Jeff is on the original list of which is hundreds of people in San Diego alone. Some people in the East Coast. You're on the original list.
I'm happy to be on that original list.
But that said, I still let it come to me when people that are on the list are meant to come in. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I like to kind of point this out to my guests that and to preface this and also focus on it, that it's so important in your life to pay attention to who comes into your life. And don't just, move on from certain people. See why they're in your life, because everybody comes into our life for a certain period of time. Would you agree with this?
Absolutely.
And, sometimes, and like with Jeff and I met 2 years ago, roughly, maybe three.
Yeah.
Was it 3? 2.
I think it was 2 years. No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago. T-ball. Our sons, Johnny and his son Knox, were on the same T-ball team, and we met. And we hit it off immediately. Yep. Obviously, we're both meatheads.
Yeah,
so
that's where we hit it off at first.
Yeah, at first, that's an automatic connection for bodybuilding meatheads.
The bros.
Yeah, it's just right? It's an automatic. But then he's passionate. He's excited. He's positive. He's a smart guy. Runs a great business. And I just had the most respect for him. He was great with the kids because you were helping coach, I remember.
Yep.
And I said, man, this is cool. So I went right over to Fitness Quest 10. We've been telling everybody about you guys. And by the way, Fitness Quest 10 is in Scripps Ranch, and you're a co-owner with Todd Durkin, who's very, very well known in the fitness community.
Yep.
Todd, shout out. You're an amazing guy. You're coming on the show too, by the way.
That's right.
Exactly.
Get him over here.
Exactly. So great business. You guys, in fact, a lot of the NFL players train with you guys. Is that right?
Yep.
Give me some names. Who's training over there?
I mean, Drew Brees has been one of our clients for 17, 18 years.
Wow.
Still trains there, like in retirement. But yeah, he's one of many, to be honest. I mean, and really the NFL players and other, high profile athletes are kind of maybe what put us on the map.
Yeah,
I guess, but really, like our bread and butter, man, are it's the Scripps Ranch community and surrounding areas, and moms and dads and kids and families, and so that's really like the bulk of our community, right? Is those people, right? It's cool having the pros in there training with you at the same time and everything like that. But
I'm glad you pointed that out, by the way.
Yeah,
because you don't want people to get intimidated, thinking, "Oh, wait, this place is only for professionals."
Totally, it's not. It's more for.
You're I don't want to say average people, because you don't have average people at Fitness Quest 10. People over there they're going after it.
Amen. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, in fact, I'll be frank with you, it's really incredible energy over there, and I'm actually almost intimidated to come over there. Meaning, because you guys got a lot of hit things going on. But one of my buddies, by the way, I'm gonna bring this up on the fly. I just thought about it right now. Jeremy Gonzalez.
Oh yeah, I love Jeremy. Yeah, he trains with me Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Did he tell you we met?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Yeah,
I saw that on, I think, your social media.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Dude, we're connected to so many people, we didn't even know it.
I know.
My wife loves it over there. UFC fighters are over there.
Yep.
You've got the like you said, the community. So can't say enough about Fitness Quest 10, Scripps Ranch area, Poway area.
Yep.
Go by, check them out, tell them we sent you. And so what we're going to do today here, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, so Jeff, just so you know, and everybody that's watching and listening, you guys know how I do it here. I purposely don't do research on my guests ever, because I know you've been on a lot of podcasts.
Been on a couple.
Which means a lot. And so I don't research purposely, because I want to dig into the information on the fly and organically dig out the gold myself.
Yep.
Right? And here's what I do know about Jeff. What I do know is that he's got an incredible story of coming. Let's call it a comeback story.
Yeah.
Would you call it that?
Mm-hmm.
comeback story, overcoming the odds, overcoming some major trials and tribulations, one of which being addiction, right? A very serious bout.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, tune into this one. If you are having any type of issues or anybody in your family, any type of issue, you're going to want to tune into this because this is going to be powerful. We spoke a little bit beforehand. I said, is there anything off the table? He said, nothing. It's all on the table.
Shoot it.
And so that's, of course, my videographers right now. Okay, great. That means we're in for another long one.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Get comfortable.
That's right.
All right. With that said, by the way, how old are you now?
I am 38.
Oh, you're a young
Gonna
buck.
be 39 this year.
Young buck. Look at
prime time.
Looks like $1 million. Look at this guy. And you played what? College ball or what?
I wrestled.
You wrestled
in college. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You look like a wrestler.
Yep.
All right. So 38. When are you going to be 39?
December 9th.
Nice. Okay, you're getting up there. Yeah.
Yep.
Once you hit the big 4-0.
I know that's creeping up.
Life actually begins at 40.
That's right. Well, good.
30. Yeah, you start to have a clue. Start.
Start.
What are you in your 20s, Spencer? 20s. Look at this guy.
He'll learn some things today.
Yeah. 30s, you start to have a clue. Start, and then 40, life begins, and then 50, you actually realize what's going on.
Yep, I believe it.
All right. So anyway, there's your.
I'm still figuring things out.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah,
there's your timeline. All right, so let's go back. You're in San Diego, obviously now.
Yep.
Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Lake Tahoe, randomly, kind of. Both my parents are from San Diego, and so after my parents had me when they were living in Lake Tahoe, they moved back down to Temecula, and that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
In Temecula, oldest of 3 kids, amazing family. I just
Yeah, I met your brother.
Yep. My little brother,
Yes,
Teddy.
yeah,
Yep.
great
Trainer
kid.
at Fitness
I call
Quest
him
10.
kid. He's great, great guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. It's so awesome being able to work with him and,
Yeah.
have him on the team at Fitness Quest 10.
Yep.
And so yeah, I grew up in Temecula, oldest of 3. I really did have just that childhood that I really hope to provide my
Yeah,
kid.
you did, yeah.
Yeah. Parents that poured into me. I mean, they worked their tails off. My mom was a teacher. My dad's a general contractor. They gave me every opportunity any kid could hope for,
Yeah.
from being loved and supported to
Wow.
sports to school, so my childhood was just an amazing childhood,
Yeah.
and a lot of fond memories. And so played a lot of sports, played, soccer and baseball and football and wrestling is something I got into.
Yeah.
And we talked about how I went on to do that in college, but yeah, through my childhood, I just had a very well-rounded, felt loved and supported and
Yeah.
encouraged all the way,
Parents were together the whole time.
Parents were together the whole time.
And you saw love between your parents.
100%.
Isn't that big? Isn't that just...
Oh, huge. Yeah.
And it's the most simple thing.
Yeah.
Because in a home, if there's dissension or any animosity between the parents,
Right.
parents don't realize how powerful that is.
Totally.
It's funny. I was just watching Dr. Phil the other day. I'm starting to get into him. I
There
like
you go.
the mentality of it.
Yeah.
And it said that your kids' brains get rewired if you have all this negative energy in the house. Like, actually, brains get rewired.
Yeah.
It's that powerful,
Yeah, I believe it.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So incredible. So were you the oldest
I was
of
the
the
oldest
three?
of 3, yep.
What was that like? Were you like, did you run the house? Did you and your brother fight all the time?
Well, my brother was 5 years younger than me, and so there was kind of like that. I was really like his older brother,
Yeah.
but my sister, the middle one, she's only 20 months younger
okay.
than me, and
Wow.
her and I were kind of, we were little partners
Yeah.
in crime growing up and friends, and she's still one of my, best friends
That's
and
great.
closest confidants. I
Wow.
call her all the time, and life's gotten busier. She's got 4 kids, and she has a law firm up in L.A.
Wow.
And a family law firm, and she's, killing it. And she's always been somebody that's inspired me a lot and stuff. So, but it's been awesome having her as a close sibling, somebody
Yeah.
who we were the kind of the same age-ish growing up. And then my brother, 5 years younger than me, he was always kind of like I was the bigger brother, kind of to him, because he was freshman in high school and I was like a freshman in college. So I was always like that one step in life ahead of him, I guess. And so we had a neat kind of dynamic, and him and I are very close to this day. So very close with my siblings and my parents, and I just got an amazing family.
And so this is just kind of coming to me now because I'm going to be frank here. I don't hear this story much, meaning rarely do you hear that siblings are close.
I know.
Right?
I see that all the time. I see it all the time,
Yeah.
where siblings live in different areas or maybe don't talk all the time or
Or
maybe don't have that don't have a relationship.
Anything.
I know.
Yeah,
It is kind of unusual to me just because I know how close I am to my siblings and how much I, know that they're like my best friend, somebody I can lean on no matter what. And I'm
going to tell you right now, there's no question that's attributed to your parents.
Yeah.
To the example that they showed you, right? Mm-hmm. And now that we're talking about this, I'm loving this topic because I've been fascinated by this recently, how so many families have such a bad dynamic where the siblings, as we just talked about, are either like not even close at all, don't talk at all, or even are just kind of almost enemies. Like there's a competition thing, there's a jealousy thing. So for the fact that you had a family, and you still do, that's tightly knit, all close, that's something to say, and I guarantee there's no question it's from your parents.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. I attribute to that. And life's tough. Like family dynamics change, and as you get older and become adults, and there's, financial things, or there's, family dynamics can be tough sometimes. Yeah. But, I feel like if, the parents set the tone, and, my parents were never the ones to, my dad's not the richest guy in the world, but like my mom and dad both taught me how to work hard and treat people right, and I think that kind of like started at home, and obviously like they growing, raising 3 kids and both of them working and stuff. It wasn't like just rainbows and sunshine all the time. There was challenges I know that they faced, but I never felt that or or saw it, I guess, growing up.
And that's huge. The fact that, because they went through challenges.
Totally.
Everybody does. Financial challenges.
For sure.
And the fact that you didn't know much about it, that's huge.
Totally.
Huge. So, okay, so that's, so going, when would you say in sports, when you realized, which sport did you like, but when did you know that wrestling was your thing? How fast?
By the time I was like 8th grade freshman in high school, it was pretty clear that like me and my brother were kind of, that wrestling was going to be there. My dad was actually a basketball player in college.
Really?
Yeah, Division I basketball.
Wow.
Yep. And he played at Oregon and University of Oregon and Sonoma State, and here in San Diego with Bill Walton and stuff.
No way.
Yeah. So my dad's 6'4", basketball player, and he ended up with 2 wrestlers. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, wrestling was introduced to our family through a family friend, and me and my brother kind of just took to it and got more and more involved with it. And so in high school, that's where wrestling was kind of like my focus, and it was, wrestling, school, and I had a really great foundation of athletics and academics.
What about baseball? Like what else? Football?
I played baseball, soccer. Soccer was a big sport of mine. I played club soccer all the way through 8th grade. But when it became high school time, that's when I, focused on wrestling.
So let me ask you this. So you're doing all these sports, right? And at what point did you specialize? Did you say, okay, cool? Did you get encouraged by your parents to, hey, let's focus on wrestling now?
It was kind of more, well, first of all, with soccer, I loved that sport, and I played club soccer all the way up till 8th grade.
Yeah.
High school, they're both the same season. So that was kind of like, that was my deciding factor on that. I don't know if I would have continued to play or not. I played 1 year of football my freshman year, had a great time.
Yeah.
Loved playing defense and hitting people.
Oh, yeah.
I was always like such an aggressive guy, so played some cornerback and safety, and so I loved football, but I knew it wasn't going to be my sport, so I played my freshman year, and then after that, I actually had a shoulder surgery. Tore my labrum my freshman year in high school wrestling.
Oh, wrestling? Really? Did you go down on it, like hit the mat on it?
I mean, wrestling is so much.
It's so physical.
I mean, slams and your arm getting cranked behind you and all this stuff. I don't remember an exact time it happened. I think it was more wear and tear, but I tore my labrum. So I had a pretty serious surgery my freshman year in high school, where I got screws in my shoulder and everything to repair my labrum. Yeah.
What did that do to your mentality? Like, what did it do to your attitude, or how did you, because wrestling was your thing. And I know how it is when you got something that's your thing and then you can't do it anymore.
Totally.
That'll affect you. How did that go?
Well, my freshman year is when things kind of shifted for me. Like school and sports were, I excelled in both of them. And, I did well in school always. It kind of came, honestly, naturally for me. I wasn't the guy that studied 24/7. Yeah. I did well in school. And so then but when I hit high school, it was kind of like my personality, when I found the party scene and stuff in high school.
Yeah.
Obviously I was still going hard. I was doing well and doing well in school and sports still, but that's when things kind of shifted for me, and I, started getting into the party scene a little bit.
Freshman year
of high school. Yep. Eighth grade, freshman year.
What do you think got you into it? Like, was it just your friends were hanging out and you just were partying? And
I've shared this story before. I remember in 8th grade, I went to a private school, kindergarten through 8th grade.
Yeah.
So, and that's not, I think, any reason that I was more kind of behaved, or up into that point, I went to a public school for high school. But I remember in 8th grade kind of having this mentality, okay, I know those guys, because I was going to varsity wrestling practices and stuff like that. And I knew some of the older guys in high school were smoking weed and stuff. And I remember having that mentality when I was in 8th grade, and even making a pact with one of my friends, hey man, when we get to high school next year, you gotta stay strong with me and let's not smoke weed and stuff. I remember having that conversation with him, and then
because it was prevalent, I
knew it was around especially some of the older guys and stuff like that, in the sports teams and everything, but when I got to high school, man, I don't know what it was. It was right when I became that freshman year in high school, and I got to that first little hangout or party or get together, and it was around that conversation or mindset or mentality kind of went, right out the window. And I was kind of there was not peer pressure, but it was just that I don't know. I kind of was open, curious, whatever. And those were the first times that I, got drunk or smoked weed.
And so because you were so good in wrestling that you were actually wrestling with the varsity guys. Is that what I heard?
I was going to varsity wrestling practice as an 8th grader.
As an 8th grader?
So
oh my God.
Yeah, so I was
What weight were you wrestling, by the way?
I was 125s as a freshman.
120. You know that you're bigger than me in fresh. I was 107.
Were you really?
107 pounds.
This guy.
I was 107 freshman
I believe
year.
it. I believe it.
107.
It's hard to believe now looking at you, my man, jacked over here.
Can you believe that's ridiculous? So 125.
Did you wrestle?
No, I did for a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah.
In high school?
So here's the thing, and it's funny that we're talking about this story. Yeah. No, it's earlier,
okay.
In 6th, 7th, 8th grade, I think. So here was the problem. I started late, and I got on a team that was phenomenal.
Where'd you,
guys like
Jersey?
you, yeah, Jersey.
Yeah,
guys
Jersey's nails in wrestling.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah,
Voorhees, the whole, and they were guys like you in my weight class. So when I came in new, guess what happened every meet?
You get your ass kicked.
Yeah, so I'd wrestle the number 1 guys because they would drop all this weight to go to lower weight classes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I never had to make weight in wrestling. That's how much I was fed. I was the lamb for the slaughter. Seriously,
that's funny.
I'm dead serious. Yeah. My mom was upset because I would literally one of our guys was phenomenal, and he would drop weight so he didn't have to wrestle the number 1 guy, and then I'd get creamed.
Oh my gosh.
And then she was so upset by that I was just getting sacrificed. Seriously, because
shout out to all the wrestling moms out there.
So guys like you,
being a mom in wrestling is tough.
It's brutal.
You watch your son and
hated it.
Son go out there, daughter go out there, or whatever.
Going in all these different contortion things,
beat up on and everything. Oh yeah, I mean, you go out and lose a soccer game or something. It's a bummer for the parents, but it's a bummer when a parent watches their kid get their tail handed.
It was brutal.
Oh yeah. They're just kidding.
But let me tell you something. It was character building, and then once I wrestled people got kids my own kind of thing, I started winning. I started pinning people. I started winning a little bit. Not enough to like it and for it to stick, because the great guys that were like you, when we went to high school, we had the number 1 team in Jersey. These guys were, every weight class was stupid. So I'm I'm out. I'm done. This is it for me. I was skiing then, I think, because it's winter, right? There's wrestling in the winter.
Yeah.
I loved skiing. I was a really good skier. Loved skiing. So I'm I'm done. I don't need this.
I'm going skiing. Not
plus it was too nerve-wracking for me. I was in rec.
It's an interesting sport, man. It's definitely different than a lot of team sports and stuff. Like wrestling, it's a grind, and it is character building.
Yeah.
And, you go out there and you get your butt whooped by somebody, but
what would you say you got, like the most you got out of wrestling? What did wrestling do for your life? That you took with you in life, you look back and think wrestling made me this type of man, or
I really appreciate that, like the grit that wrestling taught me. I mean, college wrestling, just the grind of a wrestling season, practices, cutting weight, and I went hard at practices. That's part of my personality. I just went hard at practice, and so wrestling taught me a lot about, I think, like work ethic and grit, and like you're uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable.
Yeah, wrestling is the most physically, I feel,
the
like,
most
demanding
of any sport. Without question.
Kicks your ass conditioning wise, like it just
100%.
wipes you out.
Even more than boxing.
Yeah.
Other than MMA, because MMA is a combo of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But wrestling,
I even talked to my the UFC fighters that I train and those ones that wrestled in college, and they're like, the training that they do for MMA is still not as much of a grind as like a college wrestling season or something. A college wrestling season, you're weighing in every week, sometimes 2 times a week. You're competing, a dual meet on Thursday and a tournament on Saturday. And, MMA obviously is a brutal, incredible, physically demanding and, intense sport. But it's like they have a 8-week camp for one weigh-in and one fight. And then it's it's just a little bit different with. So, wrestling taught me a lot, just being an individual sport, the physical. Yeah. The physical demand of the sport makes you tough. And
the thing about wrestling is, when you're wrestling, you're literally using every muscle in your body for a full, whatever it is, 3 minutes, 5 minutes,
7 minutes.
Brutal. Yeah. I remember coming off, and every single muscle was just pumped. Smoked.
Yeah, forearms.
Couldn't even. Okay, so let's get back here. Mm-hmm. Freshman year in high school. Let's get into partying, because there aren't many people that when they got to high school that didn't party. Right. Let's be frank here.
That's true,
so you got into it, and give me that scenario of how did it, like, when did it start to get serious? When did you start to go a little bit overboard?
Totally. I feel like I went kind of in, and as soon as I got exposed to the drinking and the weed, the first time I smoked weed, I just was I think because of my personality, like, love people, love the social scene. I was all about the social scene and stuff. Even though I was like doing, wrestling and in school were still a very big, priority in my life. I started partying really hard and partying with older people and trying, coke and pills and ecstasy. So that all happened in a very kind of quick time in my freshman, sophomore year in high school.
Was that around freshman year? Like coke and ecstasy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it is, but it's not. I mean, like, we all think that, like, I grew up very similar to like a Scripps Ranch childhood, between my upbringing and the sports and the school and the resources and everything I had around me. But like in every high school, it's around,
Well, I think it's because I grew up in such a bubble. I did. Yeah. I grew up in a major bubble where that stuff wasn't even around, other than weed and drinking. That was it.
Oh yeah, no, not for me. I mean, I tried pretty much everything by the time I was a sophomore.
Wow.
In high school, yeah.
So, and I'm glad we're talking about this, because I know that what you're saying is normal. Normal meaning it's around.
Yeah.
And from what I'm hearing now is it's a lot more serious with fentanyl.
Oh my God.
Like fentanyl now is like the thing, even in like starting in middle school.
Yeah.
Middle school.
That's crazy.
And fentanyl is serious. Like,
no, it kills people all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So you just loved it. What was your...
It was really about just my personality, my attraction to like the older crowd, kind of, so yeah, I pushed the envelope that scene.
Was your sister involved too?
No.
Did she know that you were
like...
Did she know you were partying? Of course.
My sister did, yeah, for sure. And everybody...
Did your parents
know? My parents, because I started suffering some consequences in high school. Despite, having really good grades, doing really well in sports.
Yeah.
I was ranked 5th in the country my senior year, so I'm getting recruited by
5th
colleges.
in the country. All state. First in the state, obviously.
No,
right?
I didn't win state my senior. I missed my sophomore and junior year.
Yeah.
Sophomore year had that surgery.
Oh, yeah.
Junior year, I got kicked off the wrestling team.
Oh.
I got a DUI, and so I
it.
suffered all these consequences.
Okay, so to go back to this, when you started suffering the consequences.
So it was probably my sophomore year where I kind of got, more into the party scene and stuff, still keeping up my grades in wrestling and stuff, but had that shoulder surgery and was partying more. And, I got a DUI when I was a junior and started to, get in trouble for those sort of things. But, I was still functioning at a higher level, I guess, with school and sports. So I was able to kind of
justify
keep the charade going, or whatever. I was partying and getting in trouble, but I was also doing well in school, doing well in sports. So, and I could always, talk my way out of pretty much anything, which is a blessing and a curse, because
And so let me ask you this. Your parents knew. Did they know how much you were partying? Did they have any idea?
Yeah, they did. And,
What
as
did
a
they
parent, you're trying to, you punish your child, you take away their car or their, it's hard as a parent, right?
Right.
You see a kid who's.
So what do you do?
Yeah. What do you do?
Because it's around. There's almost nothing you can do about it other than try to make your child make good decisions.
It's like me and my sister. We were 1 grade apart, no different childhood or upbringing or anything. And here I was like getting blacked out drunk and getting DUIs and trying all these drugs and doing these things. And my sister was like captain of the soccer team, captain of the cheer team, going to youth group. Like, but there was no different.
Yeah.
So it's like, as a parent, and parents out there I know relate to just this, you don't have an answer on how to deal with a child that is,
right.
Do you give them tough love or do you, help them? So it's just
tough. And I'm glad we're bringing this up, man, because I want parents a lot of parents that are watching and listening, they're going through this with a child or are going to.
Totally.
And because I just recently now, I'm going to have to start having the talk with Jacqueline, who's 11, because I just heard recently, well, I've heard this for a while, that next year, middle school, there's drugs already floating around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is just nuts.
Yeah.
All right. So how did they discipline you? Just took away the car?
I mean,
did you even remember? Did it work?
I dealt with a lot of different disciplinary stuff from my parents, from school, my coach in high school, my coaches, I love them to death.
Yeah.
Arnold Alpert, Lyndon Campbell, Temecula Valley High School.
Yeah.
I was the top ranked wrestler in the state my junior year,
Yeah.
but they could see that my actions and the way I was being a bad influence on the team, and I had already had a couple instances where I got in trouble at school at a dance where I came drunk to a dance and all these other things. So my coaches cared more about, setting the right type of culture on their team and, teach, than winning really, because
which is kind of rare.
Me and a couple other guys that were the best guys on that team that year were all being little, excuse my French, shitheads.
Jackasses.
We were out partying, getting in trouble. And so my junior year, they basically made a behavior contract that said, hey, you're not going to do this, and if you do, you're off the team.
Did they contact your parents about that?
Oh yeah, I had a parent-teacher conference with them.
Yes.
With my high school wrestling coach. This is a side story, but my phone called my high school coach's house in my pocket.
Your phone?
My phone.
Yeah.
One of those Nokia phones, the original Nokia phones. Arnold Alpert was the A in my phone. It called his house, left a 10-minute message on his answering machine.
No.
And me and my other buddies on my team, like buying an ounce of weed and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah. But I was the number 1 ranked guy in the state that year.
Yeah.
But he said, hey, this is not going to happen on my team or in our team. You know, Arnold and Lyndon. I remember that conference, parent teacher conference I had with my parents. They played the tape right there in front of me and my parents.
Were you just horrified?
Oh yeah, horrified. My parents. It was just.
Did you just?
Yeah,
were you like in the chair?
I had all. Yeah, it was terrible. I showed up. I got blindsided. They said, "Hey, come on down. We need to talk to you and your parents just about, you know, some of the things that have happened with school, and we need to set some expectations." And he had that recording. Played it at the.
And the Nokia was like
laugh
this
about
big. Was it like this
dude,
big?
Yeah, it was a big old thing. Had the snake game on it. Yeah. But it called my coach's phone and left a message, and so yeah, that led me to being on a behavior contract.
Yes.
Which I ended up later on coming down here to San Diego to Jack Murphy Stadium when it was Jack Murphy for a motocross event in the middle of my junior season.
Yep.
And on the way home, I did a beer run at Deer Springs AM/PM.
Okay.
And got a DUI.
Got a DUI.
Yep.
Another one.
That was
the first one. Okay, that was the first one.
Yeah. So I got kicked off the wrestling team my junior year. So sophomore, junior year, I had no.
How long after the contract did you get the DUI?
I didn't last very long. Yeah.
Week or two?
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks. And another one, or there was 3 of us that got put on. Another one got caught with weed and kicked off. And then the third one moved in with my coach, took second in state, and got a scholarship to Embry-Riddle. And he's one of my.
Moved in with your coach? Where were his parents?
His parents were. He was living with his mom, single mom at the time.
Yep.
And his little sister was going through cancer treatment at the hospital all the time. She's okay. But his mom was very MIA, and so him and I were just being little shitheads.
Little knuckleheads.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Love you, Tyler.
Yeah. And so he moved in with your coach.
He moved in with my coach,
him.
took second in state that year, got a scholarship to college, and
That was
so those are the kind of coaches and people I had in my life. From
blessed.
I had beyond. I had these incredible coaches and leaders in my life all along, and I managed to.
Well, because normal, from what I've seen, normal coaches would have focused on the winning. They wouldn't care. They would hide what you were doing, just so you can win matches.
Yep, get me out of trouble. Do this, do that.
Yes.
No, this was like
wow. Mm-hmm. And so, so you were when you were kicked off the team. How did you feel at that point? Were you like, screw you? Were you playing the victim card?
Kind of, yeah. I had that little kind of punk attitude at that time, and I was like,
screw you.
Yeah. And I was thinking about transferring high schools to come down to Poway, actually. Yeah. Poway High School here in San Diego, or Santa Ana Calvary Chapel. That's a big wrestling school up in Orange County. So I was thinking about transferring, and, I kind of realized before the start of my senior year that, like, hey, that's like Temecula Valley Golden Bears. That's where I grew up in that program. And, there's a lot of people that are very dear to me to this day. So I had that foundation of sports and community and coaches and leaders and mentors in my life all along. But, even with that, some of us have to go off and
you got to go off the rails a little bit to
go off the rails and learn our own lessons, right? So
no
but
doubt.
those were people early on. My coaches in high school, they kicked me off the team. I came back to them in the beginning of my senior year before. I said, hey, I want to wrestle here. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll take a drug test. I'll do whatever. And so they let me back on the team, and I won some really big tournaments in the beginning of the season. And even without having a sophomore, junior year, no record on either of those years.
Right.
My senior year kicked off really strong, so I started getting contacted by colleges, and that's how I ended up, going off to college to wrestle.
So when you got kicked off the team, how far into junior year was that?
That was at the second half of my junior year.
Second half, okay.
The important stuff,
so did you just continue to party?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you just had to get a ride somewhere?
Yeah.
You couldn't drive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just got a ride with friends, and I continued to party all through high school
all the way
into
through
college.
When you got the DUI, what did your parents do about that?
I mean, obviously they're devastated and sad and mad and all those things, and try to, discipline a kid to the best of their ability. But, I went back out there and kind of got back to,
Yeah. So what's your younger brother? What was he doing at this point? Because he's now about 13, 14 roughly at this point.
Yeah. So my brother, I was definitely not a good role model for him. You know, obviously I was like, I was the older brother. All my friends were around. And thankfully, like, he definitely learned some of his own lessons.
Yeah.
But he was a much milder version of me. My parents couldn't have handled two of me. You know, he got in a little bit of trouble, but kind of got his act together and never went off the rails.
And was your sister trying to help? Was she trying to step in
and
go?
Oh, yeah, my sister, yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, when you're young and you think you know everything, like, nobody can tell you anything.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, zero.
That's who I was. I was like, thought I knew everything.
Of course.
And, but even though I thought I knew everything and I was a little punk and everything, at the same time, in the base of it, I still was that nice kid that, like, had this same kind of personality that I do today. That guy that you met out on the t-ball field. I was still that guy when I was a freshman.
Guy.
Yeah, I was still that guy.
Fun guy to be around.
Yeah, and it's like one of those kids that you see, you're like, oh man, he's like a great kid. He's got so much potential. Like, oh man, hope he cleans up his act because he's
And so let me ask you this: as far as, like, how bad were the drugs at this point? Were you doing coke? How often?
At this point, like junior, senior year in high school and right in the beginning of college, it was still a little bit more recreational.
Yeah.
Where it was like at the parties,
social
on
thing.
the weekends.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it every night and still go to wrestling practice every day. And, it was still more of a social thing through high school and into college.
And when you got back on the senior year, you got back, were you still partying and just keeping it secret?
I still was.
How did that word not get around?
I'm still doing it on the weekends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to take away from the hard work I put in, I guess, with like, wrestling and school and stuff like that, because I did.
Yep.
But I was still.
And weren't you taking drug tests, though, or did they not make you take the drug test?
They didn't make me all through my senior year, yeah. But, it really just was such a, as an athlete, I look back always to my, performances through, even though it's not the most important thing, is, with, family and your own health and just the lifestyle that you're creating for yourself. But, like I never was the athlete or student or, or family member or son or brother that I could have been during those years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't quite hit your potential in those years, is what you're saying.
Not at all, yeah. I was putting a lot of energy into...
Yeah, of course. So do you regret that? Like, do you have regrets?
I do, yeah. And, and we'll get into it. Where it took me.
Yes.
Down, where we talked about, off the rails or, where it took me. And people ask me, like, do I regret those years? And, I think that, the challenges and the pain that, like, me and my family kind of faced later on as I went into my 20s and stuff.
Yeah.
Because of this, drug addiction that I developed.
Yep.
The experiences gave me and my family a perspective on life and stuff where I don't think like I would have the same perspective and insight and stuff that I do today had I not gone through all that.
Wow. And was there any spirituality going on in your younger years?
Yes, but not like a foundation of spirituality.
Got it.
We went to church here and there, and
but parents weren't like religious or anything like that. Never pushed anything.
No.
And so so now you get into college. Mm-hmm. When did things get more, let's say, serious?
Yeah. So I got a scholarship to college,
and
then a great coach in college.
Which college was it again?
UC Davis.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Great team, great coach, great community up there, and I'm close with many of my teammates and my coach from college, and my coaches from college still to this day. And but I went off to UC Davis, and then freshman year, sophomore year, still kind of I had a good season my sophomore year, placed in the Pac-10s, I took third in the Pac-10s and qualified for the national tournament and stuff. And so that should have been kind of like, but that should have been where, I continued to improve. But instead that was kind of like, that was
The
like
top.
the tipping point. Yeah,
That was
my
the pinnacle.
sophomore year in college, kind of. Yeah, my junior year was when I really started using. I went from weed and alcohol in high school
Yeah.
to like more recreational coke, pills, ecstasy.
What kind of pills?
Vicodin and
Vicodin.
OxyContin, the opiates
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And then as I got into college, I just kept, experimenting more and getting connected with people that are not like on my college wrestling team or
Yeah.
in my dorm, these kind of on the fringe people.
Yeah.
And I always sought out, that, I was always searching for that next high or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so just got worse and worse. And so by the time I was in college, I developed an addiction with meth and heroin.
Meth.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had friends that I've heard this story similar to where, because you can't, the next high, it like you got like the final plateau is heroin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about that trend. Like, how did it get to the point, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
however much you want to peel back here.
Absolutely.
And I'm doing this purposely so people that are either going through it, have gone through it, are recovering from it, parents that are watching, listening, so you went to pills, and then what? Do you remember the first time that you did a heroin? Like, do you remember the first time? Like, what took you over the top?
Yeah. So obviously, you don't just wake up one day and try heroin. It's a gradual progression, and even me in that lifestyle that I had with the upbringing that I had, and it was like, here I am at UC Davis on scholarship for wrestling, and I'm sticking needles in my arm. Wow. So it's kind of baffling for even me to look back and go, how did it go from this? How did I end up in that position of being, addicted to heroin and meth as a junior, senior in college? And, it's just one of those things that it starts off with, some of the more entry, gateway type,
Right.
They call them gateway drugs. A lot of my friends, they smoked weed and drank in high
Did some
school and college,
ecstasy.
maybe did some ecstasy, tried some coke, and then stopped doing stuff.
That was basically me right there.
That was many people, all my friends.
Yeah, that was me.
That was many people.
Ecstasy, loved it. A little bit of coke here and there. Tons of weed, loved weed, but never went over that tipping point.
And that's how so many of my friends were.
Yeah.
And it's not crazy uncommon for that.
Right.
People that go off to college to party and try some things or whatever. And all my friends kind of but I did not. I was that.
Who introduced it? Like, what? Don't you know the name? I'm saying, like, what point did you get to? It's like, oh, you know what? Let me try that too.
It was not a college student at UC Davis. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
It was like, I think just in my hometown in Temecula, I ran with a crowd that always partied harder, and there was that person or the friend or the drug dealer or whoever that I, would meet, and then, you'd kind of make these connections as you go, and it would go kind of farther down the, and into college too, same thing. It was like, it wasn't like, it happens over time, and then you make connections, and you kind of, it just progresses. And then that one time you're around the person that, you've never done heroin before, all you've ever done is pills, but then you're there that one day at that apartment or whatever, where there is that one person that has it, and you go, oh, shoot.
It was meth first. Did you do meth first? Meth, you snort meth, right?
You smoke it or
snort it.
Snort it or shoot it.
Were you shooting meth too? Mm-hmm. And so, but you started by snorting it, I'm assuming, yeah?
Yep. And smoking it.
Because it goes from coke usually then to meth, right?
That's
is that because meth is cheaper?
Cheaper, and it's like a different kind of a crowd, I think, maybe, that meth even, know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And so from meth, and then it went into, so were you injecting meth before you did heroin, or did you start?
It's kind of around the same time. Once you start using a needle, that's kind of like most extreme way of using a drug.
Yes.
Right.
That's it.
You can't. It starts with snorting it, smoking
it,
shooting it.
That's usually the progression.
Mm-hmm.
It is the progression.
It is the progression.
Because you can't get. That's the only way you can get higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was the pills were going everywhere at that time.
Everywhere.
Remember, there was a pill epidemic.
Yes.
Throughout the United States, OxyContin and all these.
Huge.
So I knew a bunch of people that were selling pills, and OxyContin was actually a pill that you could crush up and snort.
Yes.
People, you could smoke it, on foil and stuff, and so I was smoking it, the OxyContin, and then shooting the OxyContin.
Wow.
And so, and then it just progressed. Yeah, it's really kind of hard to understand maybe for somebody that's obviously...
Yeah.
You hear about people getting, but it's hard to even think about, like, you see a heroin addict down on the corner.
Yeah.
And it's hard to think about that person, like, before that.
Right.
Or where did they start? That's why I think it's, like, important for people to understand, even with my story. Like, I had a great foundation.
Which is why I'm so glad.
I had a family that loved me. I had sports. I had a scholarship to college. I had a community and coaches and, all these things. But I have an addictive personality, gene, whatever the hell it is, like people talk about the addict gene, or, I think for me, there's also just like, there's certain people that are wired a certain way that repeated use of substances over a period of time just kind of rewires that, your brain chemistry. And so that's what it was for me. Like, it wasn't because I had trauma or, because that I grew up in a neighborhood where it was on every corner. It wasn't that.
Yeah.
It's like I found it. I searched it out, and people were trying to keep me,
Like, you had great influences around you. Great.
Always.
Which is why this story is that much more powerful, because there isn't this traumatic event that you went through that pushed you down this way. It was, you had a great, this is such an incredible story. So you remember being in an apartment and the heroin came out, and you're like, why not? Mm-hmm. And do you remember how that felt? Can you remember how this went? Were you like, oh wow, this is beautiful?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much as kind of like as powerful of a substance that you can do in that type of substance, right? Like in an opiate, you can either eat one Vicodin, or you can eat 5 or 10 Vicodin, or you can sniff an OxyContin, or you can, smoke or shoot an OxyContin, or you can shoot heroin. That's pretty much
that's the
whole spectrum for opiates, right? And I'd been through the whole spectrum, starting with like taking Vicodins here and there as a freshman or sophomore in high school. But over an 8-year period, it just progressed, and
so that's junior. Was that junior year?
Junior year in college.
In college. Mm-hmm. What happened to your wrestling at this point?
This was the time where the whole kind of house of cards were starting to
crumble.
Yeah. Up until that point, I could go to practices, and I'd go so hard at practices that my, it was like, and I would compete and do well, that those extracurricular activities that I was doing was obviously a detriment to my performance, but it wasn't like a glaring thing that all these people said, whoa, Jeff's got an issue. My teammates knew that I partied more than all of them.
Yep.
I would be the only person out of all of them that would be searching out the guy that's got coke at the frat party, out of my whole team.
Right.
And so it was my junior year in college that, it's like the lifestyle it became from like a recreational thing to a daily thing to something that like just.
So it became daily.
It became daily by the time I was like in junior in college.
And that's
where I was using opiates or.
And then you couldn't operate and practice anymore.
Then I started. There were some things that were happening my junior year-ish in college. I was missing practices. I was, picking at my face all the time because I was on meth, and my coaches are going, these Division I college coaches are not, really used to dealing with an athlete that's a drug addict.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Should we? So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when did it just spiral and just get even worse?
So it started getting more and more worse during my junior year. I kind of fell off the rails. But then, junior year ended and summer happens, that like break between your junior and senior year. And I came back to Southern California, to Temecula. And that's where just my addiction just continued to, get worse. And I tried going back up to college for my senior year. And I still, was functioning at a certain extent, keeping the charade up and doing everything behind everybody's back. But it got to a point after I went up there and started my school year and tried to go to practices and stuff that like my coach knew. And,
knew.
Yeah.
So, but they also knew junior year.
Not as much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did they say
my family and team and coaches and stuff didn't know as much my junior year. It was more my senior year.
So when you left for junior year, did they say, hey, stay on track?
Train hard this summer. Yeah.
Train hard,
but not really knowing what kind of. Nobody really knew the.
So none of your friends on the wrestling team knew how bad it was.
No,
so because you were hanging with guys outside the wrestling team.
Yeah, I hung with my wrestling team all the time, but they didn't really understand. Nobody really understood. I don't even think me.
Yeah.
Because I was still trying to juggle all these things. It's really like it caught up with me.
Yeah.
Got the best of me.
Yep.
I was able to function with it and,
yeah.
For so long and do these things and be in these places that like, hiding it. And, but it just really caught up with me.
And then, so talk to me about when you came back between the middle of junior and senior year. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to ask this question because I've had my friends that this happened to them where it got to the point where they weren't even social anymore.
Yeah, totally.
Where they were literally in their own room.
In my room, in the bathroom.
Locked in their room.
The parties, the girls, all the things that people, the social aspect of it had kind of gone.
It was gone.
Gone away.
And you were now by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, still trying to maintain that kind of the friendships and stuff like that, but
by yourself meaning you were shooting up in rooms by yourself,
in the bathroom
by yourself for hours.
Yeah.
And how long? Like, were you staying up for days? How were you sleeping?
I had some terrible
hallucinating.
Yeah. I had some. Sometimes that was kind of like when the wheels started to fall off. I was on these benders and. I remember my senior year in college, I'd been up for a couple days and I kind of had this, hallucination that I thought my parents were there outside my door, like doing an intervention on me. And I called my house and so, yeah. So my mom and my sister got on a plane and flew up to Davis. And
this was senior year?
My senior year, yeah.
Yeah. They flew up and what, said, hey?
Yeah. Stayed with me a couple days and tried to, help me out.
So you were forced to detox at that point?
Yeah, that was kind of like, still it's like people are trying to help you and then you're resisting the help and you're saying, hey, I got this.
Because you don't think you have a problem.
Right. Oh, man, that was me for years.
Years.
Oh, yeah, when you're 21, 22, 23, 24, it's like, I got this. Like, I'm just
partying.
Partying, yeah.
And so the point where you're like by yourself doing these, so at that point you're not even realizing that you have a problem, or do you think, ooh, maybe this is a problem?
I kind of had moments in really dark times where I felt like, very, there were, when I was running and high and getting high, it's like, you don't think that.
Yeah.
Like, but there were times where I had a couple low periods where I'm like, I opened up to my wrestling coach and my wrestling coach's wife and my parents and told them, I'm like, I need help. And
this was his junior year,
my senior year.
Senior year.
My senior year, yeah.
And I'm asking these questions, by the way, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you being very open about this.
Absolutely.
And I'm asking these questions because I've always wanted to know these answers.
Mm-hmm.
The mentality and what's happening in your mind. Like, do you even think, like, when you're in a room? Because I remember, I'll never forget this back in the Pacific Beach days. And we had friends who would be like, hey, where's so-and-so? Where's so-and-so? Oh, they're in their room. Mm-hmm. And they'd go off to their room, and you'd know that they were shooting heroin, and they just wouldn't come out.
Totally.
And they'd be by themselves. And I'm like, what are they doing in there? Why don't they come out here and party and have fun?
Yeah.
No, and they eventually would tell us, hey, and literally for hours by themselves.
Yep.
And that's when you know that's like the final frontier of there's a major problem.
Totally.
And so so then when you said I need help, was that when they came out and flew out?
Yeah, so my senior year, it was kind of like an intervention and me kind of knowing that like I was in a bad place and I needed help. So I reluctantly but willingly went to rehab for the first time my senior year in college.
Yeah.
It was like, my wrestling coach was like, don't worry about wrestling. Don't worry about school. You know, him and my parents were in communication with each other. People that they didn't know what to do with me.
Yeah.
You know, right? My teammates had talked to my coach, you know, and when you see somebody struggling, everybody wants to help that person, right?
Right.
But that person, you know, it's even hard to really kind of understand the mentality of that person that's addicted, right? It's like, you know, I had some periods of like acceptance and wanting help and understanding I have a problem, but then, you know, at the same time, like it just, I went off to rehab my senior year in college. I was 23 years old.
Yeah.
Still, that first time I went to treatment, I was there for a month and I got out and came back, and it was a very short time before I was right back to it. Yeah. You just, you know, you get back to feeling good and healthy, right? In a very short period of time. The body and the mind bounce back. I mean, our bodies and minds are resilient.
Yes.
Like amazing things, because I have torn this body down to, you know, some really bad situations.
Yeah, yeah.
But
you
then,
put
you
it
know,
to
with
the test.
Yes. Up for a long period of time. No food for a long period of time.
Wow.
You know, like just up.
What was your longest time you spent up, like without sleep?
You know, 2 or 3 nights.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 or 3 nights. Yeah.
And you wouldn't eat the whole time, probably.
Yeah, I mean, because you're on meth or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, you get back to feeling good, and you're like, hey, you know, like, and just at that point, you're so the physiology and the psychology of addiction is just one that we will never like have a rule book on how.
Yeah.
Here's how you fix it.
And you keep saying this, and I'm glad you do, because you wouldn't think that a guy like you would ever go down this down this path. Mm-hmm. Great upbringing, great parents, great coaches, physically phenomenal, great wrestler. So even someone like you, somehow, some way, for some reason, and you couldn't stop. You went down literally till the wheels came off.
Oh yeah, and that was just the beginning of the.
You came back from rehab, and you said within a couple days.
Yeah, within a couple days, a week, I was.
Did you immediately seek out the big one, heroin, immediately?
Yeah,
you did.
At that point, that was.
You didn't even bother with anything else.
No. Yeah.
And so, do you remember that first one when you came back? Can you remember?
You know, there were so many. That whole kind of from that whole period of my life.
Yeah.
I want to say like 22 to 29.
Yeah.
It was so much of like a blur almost, because there was a lot of drugs, you know, up and downs with that, and periods of sobriety and stints at rehab and stints in jail and all this, so that it's like it's hard to go back to like that one time that I got and really remember the thought process or but I will tell you, like when you're in active addiction, or when when your mind is hijacked by that drug, or it was, even at times where I'd go to rehab, get out, have a couple months of sobriety, the family gets all hopeful, I'm feeling good, I'm telling people that I'm wanting to change, and I'm believing it, like I believe it myself 100%, you know. And then you go back to doing it. It's just like that thought process or what's going on. It's just like the addict does not have the power over that choice.
Wow. And so, okay, so you come back, and then so clearly, from what you just mentioned, this now, how long did that last before you went back to rehab? Or what happened? Was something what happened at that one?
So I graduated college barely,
Yeah.
that was went back up to school.
After you got sober?
After I went to rehab.
Rehab.
My first rehab.
Yep.
My senior year in college. And went back up, and it wasn't long before I was using again, but I barely graduated and then came back down to Southern California to Temecula, where my parents lived. But, a lot of the friends and circles that I ran in Temecula at that time, it was like everybody was using.
Yeah, everybody.
So I went right
Everybody's
back.
using heroin.
Pills,
Name it.
coke, meth, heroin was kind of like, all my friends were, and it was just a daily kind of deal, like, where are we getting it? Who's got it?
Yeah.
How are we going to get it? Who's got the money? How are we getting the money? So I moved home from college, and, that's where the wheels really came off, because that up to that point I had like school and sports, and like wrestling was a big part of my identity, and, all that kind of came to an end right as my addiction went off the rails.
So what happened? Like, how did it go further off the rails?
So then it was just a period of time that it's really like I'd have to go back and map out those years of my life.
Yeah.
Like 23 to 28.
Yeah.
It was a dark time for me and my family. And yeah.
And you were living at home, right?
Living at home, yeah.
Were you just not coming home sometimes?
Oh yeah, I'd be out for a couple days, and
nobody could find you?
Yeah, be out for a couple days, nobody could find me.
Did you have a phone at that point?
Yeah, I'm assuming I did, or
assuming,
maybe I didn't. I mean, yeah.
And then how long? Like, were you back in rehab again? Like, give me the whole. If you can brush by
I can give you,
because this is a long time, dude.
Yeah,
that's 5-6 years.
5-6 years,
man,
in and out of jail and rehab.
So how'd you get to jail?
Got arrested with drugs on me a couple times. One was for residential burglary.
And so
my addiction put me to a point where that was my sole purpose of every day, was
to get high,
getting drugs, and how I was going to get them, right?
Yeah.
And when I got to the point where, the circles I was running in and the stuff that we did to get those drugs, it was not.
Yeah, you weren't working jobs.
No, none of us were working. I was hustling, selling drugs, robbing drug dealers, robbing houses.
So you were robbing drug dealers?
Mm-hmm.
Like for their money or their drugs?
Both.
And then you were breaking into houses.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. And your whole crew was doing the same thing?
A lot of the people I ran with, yeah.
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 Just to get the neck to be able to get high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were some forks in my road, in my life, in my 20s, in that time period, that, the fact that I'm here today having this conversation and retelling and reflecting, it's, on this day, if this happened, I'm dead. If this day this happened, I'm in prison for 10 years.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So,
give me some examples. Like, what happened? Like, you just averted.
Yeah. So, I mean,
like, did you OD ever?
I OD'd multiple times.
Multiple times.
Yeah. I got woken up by the paramedics, with Narcan a couple times. One time I was at a house up in Hemet, and I OD'd, started turning purple. The people in the house didn't want to call 911 because it was they don't want the cops.
Yeah.
But my friend who was with me that day called 911, and, the paramedics revived me, and that friend of mine passed away.
He did?
Yeah.
From drugs?
Mm-hmm.
How long after that?
Years after, while I was working at the gym. I've lost a lot of friends from that kind of period of my life, people that I knew. It's at this age now, I'm, 38, and some of those people that I ran with, and so, that period of my life, it was like I spent about a year in jail total. 2 months here, 4 months here, but like those experiences, the time I spent in jail with other people that had other upbringings than me. They were guys that grew up on the streets where all their uncles were in prison, and they, complete opposite lifestyle of me, right?
Yeah. Upbringing.
Yeah. That gave me a lot of, insight on life. these guys didn't have a chance.
Right.
You know, and
They were born into it.
They were in jail for attempted murder or something. You know, like there were people like that I met and connected with in jail and rehab. You know, all the rehabs I went to, and so that period of my life was a hell for my family. You know, my parents.
Yeah.
They're like trying anything to save their kid. You know, here I am, like, this is like Johnny. I don't want to get like personal, but like this is like Johnny going off to middle school and then meeting some friends, and in high school starting, playing sports, getting a little bit of trouble, trying this, trying that, and then it's like your baby grows up, and then now he's like killing himself. Yeah, and
it's inconceivable.
It's inconceivable, kind of like the torture that I put my parents through. And I have insight on that now with sobriety and being through the experiences that I've been through on, what that did to my family and to my wife.
When did you meet your wife? What age?
My wife I was 28-ish. So it's kind of like at the end, the latter part of those really terrible years. Yeah. Was when I met my wife.
When you met her.
When I met her.
And so prior to that, it's 23, 24, 25. Up to 28, you'd been in jail 3-4 times.
Half a dozen times.
Half a dozen times. Was it always for breaking an entry?
It was always for possession or possession of stolen property, or I got a residential burglary deal.
Why didn't you go away longer? Because wasn't the 3-strike rule going on where you were then they put you away for a while?
No? So the 3-strike rule is not for just regular felonies. Like, I have 3 felonies on my record. That's not, it's like violent or, so.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's not, but I do, it's 3 strikes. It's a 3-strike rule. Yeah. I do have a strike on my record.
You do? From
that residential burglary charge, because that's like the bottom of the serious felonies.
Got it.
It's like residential burglary, home invasion, assault, like those are strikes. That's
right.
The 3-strike rule.
Got it.
So I have 1 strike on my record from, a residential burglary that, I was like at a gas station and had a truck full of stolen stuff, and I was nodding out at the counter, and the counter lady called the cops, and I went back out to my truck, and next thing I know, cops are there.
And so how many other times did you OD? You said a few times?
I got some, and so there's a couple times I OD'd. Yeah. Got, could have been dead at, many times. Anytime you're injecting drugs, you're playing with fire. And now today with fentanyl, it's like playing Russian roulette.
Yes, because things are being laced with fentanyl.
Yep.
You're done.
Yep. And so there were a couple times I overdosed. There were a couple times, like one time I had already gotten to jail for that residential burglary, had a strike. I went to rehab for my sentence instead of prison. I got a opportunity through the judge, and I had my parents helping me with an attorney and stuff like that, or a lot of people don't get that kind of help and support when they're going through these kind of things, right? And so, there was a time I was inside a house, and the guy came home while I was inside his house. And I remember seeing pictures all over the walls, like a Marine.
Oh, boy.
And I went to the top of the stairs, tried to get out the front door with a bag, and he took off chase after me. And I ran down the street and got away, and I'd left my truck right in front of the house. So that time, if he called the cops came, and my friend had ended up walking from the other direction and taking my truck away from the house. Yeah. In a really kind of covert way while the guy was sitting out there on the phone. But, that was another time. Like, if I would have gotten in trouble for that time, I would have been in prison for 15 years or something,
Wow.
Yeah, that would have been like a...
Even worse, bro, a Marine's home, he's got guns.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's so many times in my life that somebody was looking out for me, or...
Your guardian angel.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to,
Man. Yeah, because I mean, a Marine's house, bro. He's got guns. There's no question about that. You could have been blown away on the spot. And then, and then, do you remember like each time that you OD'd? Do you remember these instances or no?
I do remember them. Yeah,
You
I remember. I remember it happening. I don't remember the whole thing because it's such a, But yeah, I remember them. I remember being woken up by the paramedics and going to the hospital. And
So each time you remember being woken up by like paramedics because they did the
Narcan.
The Narcan. Wow. And then when those happened, did that spark you to go into rehab again each time?
See, this is what I'm saying. Like when you're addicted to drugs, you cannot sit there with a heroin addict and tell him, like, listen, if you don't stop using heroin, you could die. That's why it's like, and that I don't care how good of a person that person is, or and that's why like addiction is such a nasty disease. It's like the devil is just hijacked your brain, your person,
your body,
that
your soul.
whole person, everything. That's why it's like even those people out there that like obviously like they're being terrible parents or whatever, but it's like the parent that like the court tells you, hey, if you fail one more drug test, your kids are getting taken away from you. That mom loves her kids.
Yeah.
But that drug is more powerful than
anything
choice that she has, or so there's a lot of really good people out there. There's a lot of good parents. There's a lot of you can't scare somebody into sobriety.
Right.
You're gonna lose your family. You're gonna lose your kids. You're gonna die.
Doesn't mean anything. Nothing. Okay, so you met your wife at 28.
Yep.
Talk to me about that.
Well, my wife, she's a special lady.
I'll bet.
And her and my sister became like best friends in college here at Point Loma Nazarene.
Yeah.
We went to school together there. And she moved in with my wife. My sister moved in with Sam, my wife, after college at a condo here in Scripps Ranch.
No kidding.
And so my wife moved in with my sister moved in with my wife, and at that time I was going through some really going through these times.
Yep.
So I was the brother that my wife heard my sister always talking about, like, oh my sister are like this. Told you how close we are.
Yep.
So my sister was, struggling with my struggles, and Sam witnessed that and heard about me and always knew about what was kind of going on with me. So she knew that I had some struggles, but my sister was her best friend, and she had met my parents and fell in love with my parents and stuff. And so that was the time that she came up to Temecula to visit my parents and visit my sister at our house in Temecula. And she came up there, and I was on house arrest. I had an anklet on my, ankle bracelet on, and I looked terrible. I was like 130 pounds, and that was like one of the first times we met.
Wow.
And my wife.
What happened in the meeting? Hey, how are you?
Well, I mean, she came to visit my parents and my family.
Sorry, I'm going to break in real quick.
Yeah.
So if you're on house arrest.
Yes.
You're not doing drugs now, or did you still figure that away? You still figured that away.
Yeah.
Were you leaving the house?
Yeah, or getting it brought there. I mean.
You still figured that away. Okay. Whew.
Yep.
Wow. So, because with the anklet, can you leave the house? What happens?
It was like a 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. type deal. I can't even remember.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you were able to get out.
Oh yeah.
And you were still doing it.
Yeah, or even if I wasn't leaving, I was still doing it.
Yeah. At the house.
Yep.
And your parents didn't know.
I mean, they knew, but they can't stop. It's like one of those things. It's hard to explain. Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So Sam comes in. Mm-hmm. You meet. Do you remember this meeting?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Tell me about
that conversation. So it was me and my sister were close, and obviously my family all wanted me to get better.
Did she come to specifically meet you, by the way?
No, she came to visit my sister.
Okay.
And my parents.
Got it.
I happened to be there because I was on house arrest.
Yeah.
I just happened to be there. And I remember we had a conversation in my kitchen up in Temecula. me, my sister, and Sam talking about life and, you know, and, you know, we all ended up in tears. I think all three of us, just because it was like her and my sister talking to me about, you know, how can they help and what's going on. And so that was kind of one of our first meetings. And that led us to kind of exchange some contact information and stuff.
And so, all right, so where to go from there?
So Sam was not, I think, at all attracted to me. Like, oh, this guy's even,
Yeah.
you know, the bad boy older brother or anything. It was like, you know, my wife she has that heart that she's a social worker.
Yeah.
She's, you know, seen addiction in her family. She's
at that point, she'd already seen it too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It had been in her family, you know, and so she's seen it. She's seen addiction firsthand. She'd worked in group homes and CPS, and so she's that person that's wants to help people always.
Yeah.
And here I was, her best friend's older brother, and she just said, "Hey, you know, like we should hang out sometime. You know, we should go on a hike, or you know, it wasn't anything like, hey, we should go on a date. It was like, you know, we should hang out sometime kind of deal." And so we exchanged contact information or something, but shortly after that I got arrested again. I don't remember what for. I mean, like I said,
at this
these
point
things,
you had an anklet on still.
Yeah. So I don't even remember what that time was.
Yeah.
I was arrested for, but I remember going back to jail. When I got in jail, talking to my sister on the phone, and I said, "Hey, can you get me Sam's contact information, phone number?"
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like the first communication that me and my wife had.
Yeah.
Was when I was in jail. I reached out to her, and we started this, you know, phone and letter correspondence. And she'd come to visit me up in.
How long were you in jail at this point?
That was like 3 months.
3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So you called her right away within the first couple days.
First week or something. Yeah.
First week, yeah. What'd you say? Hey, it's Jeff.
Yeah, pretty much.
How are you?
I mean,
Guess where I'm at?
yeah, something like that. You know, when you're in jail, you want you want to talk to the people that, you know, are in your corner, sort of.
Because when you go to jail, you have to detox.
Oh yeah.
How brutal was that?
Terrible. I've done it
Terrible.
multiple times. Yeah.
Puking, sweating.
Cold, yeah, it's like having the flu, and you're in a cold cell on a cot. You know, just.
Did you have roommates?
Cellies.
Cellies?
Yeah.
And did they knew that you were
Oh
going
yeah,
through?
everybody knows kind of when somebody comes in like that. Yeah.
Do you remember was there support, or did you ever have any problems in jail?
No, I mean, I saw a lot of crazy stuff, you know, riots and fights. And
Really?
there's all the racial stuff going on, which is just, it's crazy, you know. Like that's
a
real.
thing.
That's
It's
a
real.
real thing, right? When you go into jail,
Yeah.
each race does not.
They don't mingle.
No. And
Not at all.
No, it's very, it's a nasty place, dude.
Wow.
Yeah. I learned a lot I grew up real quick, you know, as a 23-year-old kid.
Did you have to defend yourself?
Oh yeah, like I saw my cellie get stabbed in the face with a toothbrush.
Oof.
You know, like.
Wow. Did you do well because you were a wrestler? Like
I
real
always
wrestler?
could carry myself in any situation I was in well. I think just, you know, personality and, you know, I always could, but yeah, it's definitely, I think some of those, but even like, for example, my cellie that I had for like 3 months at one time, he was in there for murder, and, you know, just meeting him and understanding his path and the circumstances that led to that situation and everything, you know, like there's always drugs involved, and it's, and the other people I met in jail at different times, like I said, it was like, you know, there was another 23-year-old kid in there, Hispanic guy that, you know, was from like Escondido, and I just remember he told me, like, you're in college, or you went to college, like, what's that like, you know? Like, he had been in and out of, you know, juvenile detention and jail since he was 13. He hadn't spent more than 6 months on the street.
Wow.
You know, so I definitely had.
What do you think that the jail time that you did?
Mm-hmm.
What do you say you took from that? What's the biggest lesson or the biggest takeaway that you got from it? Like you said, you learned that a lot of people don't even get the chance that I have.
Totally.
Like, what did you take away? How did that?
The biggest thing I think would probably be like compassion or empathy. You know, like non-judging of that person that's, you know, in there for whatever. You know, that's, you don't know that.
Yeah.
That story, that circumstance, their upbringing, their childhood, their whatever, you know. And people also are human, and we're human. Us humans are like what happened with me. Like, I became a really terrible person that like did a bunch of messed up stuff, but that wasn't me.
Yeah.
You know, if I was labeled that for the rest of my life for some of the things I did,
yeah,
you know, like, but it wasn't me doing those things. You know, I was, you know, so I think me, you know, seeing those things, you know, seeing that, oh man, it's a place that's filled with just hate, you know, like that racial tension, and then the corrections officers, and it's like, it's a tough deal because you see why, like, you know, it's hard to, once you're in there, you don't like go in there and then kind of go, okay, we're going to get better, you know, like it's not a place set up for rehabilitation,
right?
And bringing out that, like, the person that you really are.
Yeah.
It's like you go in there and you're labeled and, you know, shit on, and, you know, and society, it's just makes it tougher to kind of, you know, it's like I was lucky, like I had felonies and, you know, stuff, but I had every resource in the world coming out and every time to help me get back on my feet.
Parents.
I had a freaking army of people always my whole life trying to help me.
And most people don't have that.
No, most people don't have family, support, education, upbringing, community, leaders, mentors. They don't.
Yeah. They almost have no chance to get back.
Yeah.
To make their comeback or to get off.
Right.
Wow, man.
So like I get a little not modest about my comeback because, like, you know, I'm living the life that I was taught how to live today.
Yep.
So it's great that I did, you know, overcome those things that I went through. But, you know, like my real compassion and empathy and stuff goes to the, you know, the people that like in these underserved communities that don't have that, you know, where the drugs are everywhere and their family units are, there's
just separated, destroyed.
Yeah, there
isn't even one. Mm-hmm. Okay, so get back to wifey here. Mm-hmm. You call her from the jail cell. Mm-hmm. Where did this go? How did this go?
So
next?
this began a friendship, you know, of writing letters and phone calls, and she's just such a friendly, like, sweet person, and somebody who, you know, I could connect with outside of my family that, you know, was a nice girl, and was kind of going, you know, I wonder why this, you know, my sister's friend Sam has any interest in kind of, you know, so that she would come up to visit me, like after a couple weeks of us communicating over the phone and stuff. She's like, hey, I'll come visit you, and, you know, she'd come up and visit me behind the glass, and so that was the first time, and I was sober, you know, and like this person is coming out, you know, I'm looking healthier and being more of myself and stuff. So, you know, her and I kind of got to know each other in those couple months through letters, phone calls, and visits in jail.
And then, okay.
That's why when people ask us at a dinner party, how did you guys meet? I go, well, where do we?
You sure you want to know?
Yeah. I give her the look and go, should we say, you know, do we give them the real answer, or do we just say,
do you tell the story? Like,
no, I don't go there. I mean, it depends who the people are, but, you know.
Like, how do you sum that up?
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. It's like, you know, she's my sister's best friend from college. You literally keep thumbs up. No, but
you keep it that vague.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, all of our friends and people know, like, you know.
All right. So you get out.
Yeah.
What happened? Did you immediately hang out with her?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me.
Immediately.
Give it to me.
Actually, literally that night I got out, I called her, and she drove up from San Diego, and we hung out in Temecula, and that was kind of the first time that we hung out.
Yeah.
And there was like, hey, like, I'm feeling like a connection with her.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Now that being said, that was the beginning of our relationship.
Yep.
I would say, where
Yep.
we started dating then, and
Let me interject real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to this, because we didn't talk about it, did you have any girlfriends along the way or nothing?
I was in high school. I got voted biggest flirt.
Oh God.
I was like terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
I was great.
Yeah.
I had girlfriends and
Yeah.
always, I mean, biggest flirt.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
had a
Okay.
lot of girlfriends and stuff like that. But as the drugs became my
Yeah.
girlfriend,
Yeah.
by the time I was in high school, off in college, it was like,
That's it.
that's it.
Drugs were the priority.
Yeah.
All right. So wifey,
Mm-hmm.
you had an attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me from there.
Yep. So, we started dating, and, she was somebody who I was like, man.
Did you get back on the stuff?
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Immediately.
We didn't, we had nothing of the like, oh, we met and she, and then I got my act together, and no, it was a very, very rough road for us the first 2 to 3 years.
Wow. Okay. Tell me.
Because it was the same song and dance with her and my family that time I got out. It was like a little bit of a hope. Jeff's doing better. He's sober, but in a short period of time, I was back to, using again behind people's backs and doing that thing. And so she went through a 2 or 3 year period with me where it was, we went through some very, very challenging
And you were just
times.
dating at this point.
Yes, we were dating at this point. And I went to rehab again up in Riverside while we were dating. And after I got out of rehab that time, she said, hey, if we're going to make this work, or we're going to try this, I want you to move down to San Diego with me. Get out of your hometown. Get away from old people, places, and things, and move down here, and let's try and start.
How many years in was this?
This was like 2 years into us
Okay. When
dating.
she said, hey.
Yeah. Yeah.
How was she reacting the whole time, knowing that you're still doing stuff?
It was terrible. It was like broke her heart, pissed her off, like just the worst. It was like, that's the time of your life when in a dating relationship, it's like,
Should be the best.
The honeymoon. Like,
The honeymoon.
Yeah. We went, there was a little tiny bit of honeymoon, like days or months, and then a lot of really terrible stuff with lying and, really, crushing her, and
Did you go back to jail again or anything?
I didn't go back to jail, but I went to rehab in Riverside.
Yep.
Then moved down to San Diego, and then had a little bit of sobriety. Put about a year of sobriety together,
Okay.
and then I relapsed again, and went back to treatment my last time.
So you started doing using down here.
Mm-hmm.
So how'd you find the contacts down here?
When you have been
Yeah.
using and hanging around people that use for so long, it doesn't take much to like see it.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Seek it out.
Yeah. I'd been working at Fitness Quest 10.
Really?
Yeah. For a year.
For
I
a
had
year.
Had a year of sobriety. I was working the front desk. And Sam and I were dating, and for the first time in my life, that was the longest period of sobriety. People were, my family.
Ecstatic.
Oh, family is ecstatic. Sam is encouraged and excited, that I found Fitness Quest 10.
Yeah.
Because that was a God shot to me.
Yes.
I came down here to San Diego. I got a job at selling real estate websites at a company, phone sales. Then I left that company to go work at Ashford University with some people that were going to work over there.
Yep.
And I lied on the application about
No
my
felonies.
background, no felonies, and I got hired. And so I was like, okay, I don't know how that happened.
But
And so I quit my other job, started working at Ashford. 2 weeks into it, the HR department called me and let me go, which led me to find the Craigslist ad for Director of First Impression at Fitness Quest 10.
really?
Yeah.
Craigslist ad.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So I went to work at Fitness Quest 10, started doing well there. And
So you're sober at this point.
Yeah. 6 months sober or so.
Who did you meet? Todd right away?
Yeah, I went in. I went in and met Todd and Julie, the general manager at the time, and just was like, the energy and the the community there was immediately
Yeah.
like, whoa, like, this
Amazing.
place is awesome.
Yeah.
And so I got a job there at the front desk, started working for about 6 months, and had an idea of like, hey, this is what I want to do for my career. I want to become a trainer.
Yeah.
And had some hope, and my family had some hope, and Sam had some hope, and things were going really the best they had in a decade, right?
Yeah.
Or in the better part of a decade.
Yeah.
And then my wife, we were, dating at the time, but she got into a grad program in Columbia, in New York.
Mm.
And she's like, hey, I really want to go do this program in New York. You've been doing really good. Keep doing your thing at Fitness Quest 10. I'm going to go to New York. We'll do the long distance. And shortly after she left, I relapsed.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
How long after she left, do you think?
Within a month.
Within a month?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then did it just get extreme right away? Did you hide it?
Kind of. It wasn't. That time it wasn't as extreme as maybe it had been in the past with the amount or just how I was using it and everything like that. I kind of was hiding it. I mean, people at work didn't know, but I was using every day, and I was hiding it from Sam, even though she was across the country. But it all came to a head, and
How did it come to a head?
she caught me on Christmas Eve at the family.
So she came back.
She came back from Christmas. She said, "Hey," she immediately thought I had been using.
When she came back,
When she came back,
she could tell.
She always could tell.
Yeah, of course.
Families
course.
and spouses, they can always tell. But as an addict, you lie through your teeth and you convince them that they're crazy, that they're wrong, and that you're not using, and then they start questioning their whole, and like, am I really like accusing him of something he's not doing? So it's just like, that's the pattern. Alcoholics and addicts, that's what we do. We lie and convince other people that, so that's what I did. And and then she caught me using on Christmas Eve at our family.
So Christmas Eve, where were you? Whose house?
My uncle's house here.
Uncle's house.
Del Mar,
and Del Mar, and what, you were in the bathroom? What were you?
I was in the bathroom smoking heroin.
Smoking heroin.
Mm-hmm.
But you weren't shooting up at this point, or
No,
you were shooting
I didn't go back to shooting up.
You never went back to shooting up?
On this last. But she walked in on me. Like, I thought I had locked the door. It was, again, like, thank God she did.
Didn't you think that somebody's going to smell it?
I mean, I was hiding it from everyone at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how.
And so she walked in on you.
She walked in on me, yeah.
What happened then?
Just terrible,
She's pissed.
She broke down. Oh,
Yeah.
pissed doesn't even describe. Crushed her. Ended the whole party, or the whole holiday.
So the whole house knew?
The whole house, yeah. She walked out and went straight and talked to my sister and my parents, and just ended the whole holiday. That is one of many examples of the kind of things that an addict in the family, how it just, the ripple effects. It's like it ruins everybody's day, holiday, year. I drained my parents financially and emotionally and physically for, because of all, just this happening over and over again,
And so then the holiday party that ended.
Ended.
Did she take you out of there? What?
Yeah, we went back to my house. She called her dad. He drove out from Vegas. The next morning she called Todd, told Todd. So I was working at Fitness Quest 10 for Todd.
And how did Todd react? Todd knew prior that you had stuff going, right?
I was very upfront with him from the beginning.
Yeah.
About my background and why, if he did a background check, there might be some things on there that,
Yeah.
But I'm sober now, and this was a life from before. And so, it's again, Todd was an example of like, similar to like my college wrestling coach.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like I love this kid. I want to help him. He's got a lot of potential, and we all love him. And so, but it was still, that was another contract. I went on a contract with Todd at Fitness Quest 10.
After that?
He said, after Sam told him that I had been using again. I was like, Jeff, I love you. We support you, but you can't be using drugs and working here. So like, let's line out an agreement. I will not use drugs. I'll go to meetings. I'll have a sponsor. I'll take drug tests. Da 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 da. And I signed that and continued to work. And my wife tried to go back to New York for grad school, and the family was trying to all keep me off. But I could never stop using on my own by weaning off or at home, or every time I've stopped using, and there were many, was when I was put into an institution, jail or rehab, where it's like my powers are taken away from me.
Yeah.
I've never been able to stop on my own.
At that point.
Just in general, any of the times that I stopped using, it's never because I.
And so you
because
signed.
the things I used, with opiates and stuff, it's like you're physically addicted to it.
Yeah.
Like.
And so after you signed the contract with Todd, you started up again. Mm-hmm. How long after that?
I lasted like January, February 10th, 2013. I went off to treatment.
About a month.
February 9th, yeah. It was my sobriety date's February 10th, 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
And did wifey come back at all and visit and find out?
She finished up her program in New York. At that point, we were that was like, I almost lost her. I almost lost my job at Fitness Quest 10. That was like the first time in my life that I had some really good things right in front of me. I mean, not the first time in my life,
right.
but
I
had some sobriety. I had a year of sobriety. I had a career kind of sitting in front of me. I had a amazing woman in my life, and, I almost lost it all.
Okay, so you signed the contract with him.
Mm-hmm.
You started using again. Mm-hmm. Did you were just smoking this time? You said you were not shooting up again, right? Mm-hmm. So how did that come to surface then? Like that you went back to rehab, right? Mm-hmm. He obviously found out about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
what happened there?
With
Did Todd say that's it? I mean, obviously.
No, I mean it got to a point where it's like, it still wasn't like that's it. He said, Jeff, we love you. Don't worry about your job. You need help. You need help.
Yeah.
You need to go away and get some help. And I had an opportunity to go to treatment, and so I went to rehab.
This is 13.
This is 2013, yeah.
Okay, so what happened after that?
So I went to treatment, and I was there for
What's treatment, by the way? 30 days?
It's 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. It can be 6 months or a year even in some
What's the most
places.
you spent at one?
6 months.
6 months?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which times were 6 months? Do you
That was
remember?
the Salvation Army. And that was a court-ordered program.
6 months.
6
Holy
months.
cow.
Yeah.
Was this one in 13? How long was this one?
This one in 13 was 90 days.
90 days.
3 months, yeah.
And
So I went away in February 2013. All my coworkers at Fitness Quest 10, they didn't, I'd gotten really skinny. They couldn't really tell because it happened over a period of time.
Yeah.
But I went away to treatment, came back 90 days later, like in June, April, May, June. It was like, whoa.
Yeah.
They could tell.
And so, so 90 days there,
Mm-hmm.
and then Todd said, go get help.
Mm-hmm.
When you get help, you can come back.
Yep,
Did you
your
say
job
that?
will be here when you get back.
Okay.
Yep.
When you came back, what happened?
And, that was kind of like, that last time in treatment, I was 29 years old. I'd, been in and out of treatment and rehab and in jail all my whole 20s. So when I got back, I just, people ask me like, what happened or how, I don't know. It's hard. You can't say this one instance or that one time in rehab or this. It was just I have no idea why, but that time I came out, and I've stayed sober since then.
Uh-huh. Have you had a sponsor the whole time? Mm-hmm. And it's what, NA, Narcotics Anonymous?
AA.
AA.
Mm-hmm. But I've done NA, AA.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you go to meetings?
Right now, this period of my life is probably the time that it's been the time of my 9 years of sobriety that I go to the least amount of meetings.
Yeah.
once a week, once every other week.
Yeah.
There were times in the beginning where I was going, every day or a lot,
Yeah.
in the first couple years. Right now, it's like, kid, work.
All right, so go back to when you came back to Fitness Quest 10 after the 90-day stint.
Mm-hmm.
They welcomed you back with open arms.
Yeah.
Wifey.
I
You're
mean,
just girlfriend.
yeah.
You're just your girlfriend at this point.
Girlfriend at that point.
Tell me about the progression at that point. Like, it just the switch flipped. You can't even explain it.
Yeah, no, it was like, there wasn't like, anytime it's never just like you come back and wifey's like, okay, great. He's, the family, it's like there'd been so many other times prior to that everybody's hopes were up, and that, but that last time that I got out, I came back to work at Fitness Quest 10, and it was a slow repair of my relationship,
Yeah.
in those first 2-3 years that we were together. Before we got married, we went through all this really tough, terrible things,
Yeah.
or like I had lied, and we'd, those kind of things that you don't go through in your first 2 to 3 years of it.
Yeah.
It's like, we went through a lot of that. And I think that, gave us a different type of a foundation for our marriage, going into our marriage of, we've been through some tough, challenging times. And, with Fitness Quest 10, that community there, that community's been a big part of, it was like, one of the pieces of the puzzle that has led to my, I think, being able to get sober and stay sober.
Yeah.
That community there,
Yeah.
having a mentor and a boss like Todd,
Yeah.
Who's, he's just,
He's phenomenal.
He's a phenomenal guy.
He's a
motivational
he's a special
speaker,
guy.
just inspirational guy. Yeah.
He's a great guy. He cares.
Mm-hmm.
He's passionate.
Mm-hmm.
He inspires.
Yep.
He's a godsend.
Yep.
As we would say.
Amen. Yeah.
Sent from God, serving the kingdom, building the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
So glad I got to meet him, and I can't wait to connect further with him too.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
All right, so keep going. So took a little while. Well, you came back. So how long were you back before? Was there a proposal coming up here?
Yeah.
Give me this.
So there was a proposal, and actually that proposal had happened prior to my relapse.
Really?
Yeah. So we were engaged when that relapse happened. Excuse me. So that was kind of yeah.
Okay, so tell me about that. So the how was the proposal? Was it?
It was a time that she had flown back from New York, but it was a time that I was still using.
Yeah.
So it's like our proposal has always kind of been.
You're not proud of it.
No. Yeah, I'm not proud of it. It was a time where I was trying to stop using like I had done so many times before in the past, and hiding it from her and everybody I worked with and my family and stuff. So that's not, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then, so then you relapsed, and then afterwards, when you came out, because like you said, you had so many times where people got the hopes up.
Yep.
When did she realize, okay, this is sticking at this point?
Well, I came back and went back to work at Fitness Quest 10, and I just kind of had this renewed sense of like, all right, I'm 29 years old. I've been doing this, this cycle for years, killing myself, killing my family, almost 10 years. My friends at the time had built up families and careers, and so it was like I got out and I said, you know what, I'm going to get my training certification, and I'm going to get training, and that's kind of what I did. I jumped in head first on my career, and the community at Fitness Quest 10, my teammates, the other trainers and coaches that I work with, and the broader community with Todd and the fitness, the people in the fitness industry that are connected to Fitness Quest 10 through Todd and his mastermind have always been like people that inspire me. And, it's a place that we all kind of like, are lifting each other up, and we're trying to change, Here I went from this guy that was in and out of jail and rehab to like becoming a trainer, where I'm working with like people like yourself that's like a business guy or an athlete or a family man or whatever, and I'm trying to like coach them on how to
Yeah.
You know, so
Right.
it was a complete transformation for me. But it was the best thing for me, like going headfirst into that kind of a lifestyle,
Yeah.
becoming a trainer.
Absolutely.
And the greatest thing about that is that I had a background in fitness, or in athletics, so
Yeah.
I understood like what it felt like to feel good and to be physically
Yeah.
active and stuff like that. So becoming a trainer was a natural fit for me, and it was, you know, kind of crazy that I was, you know, at one point in my life addicted to drugs, and now I'm like coaching people on how to live their healthiest life. Right?
It's crazy,
It
dude.
is.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
And so,
But it was the best thing for me.
yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
I'll
it's like,
say.
yeah.
So how long after when you came back from rehab did you actually get married, or did you start talking about, hey, can we actually get married now? Did you
It
start
was a
talking about?
period of time where that trust and, you
Yeah, of
know,
course,
that
had to be
foundation
rebuilt.
had to be rebuilt, repair, you know. But it was like as the days turn into months and the months turn into years. You know, there was
Yeah.
I had a couple years of sobriety. My sponsor officiated my wedding.
Wow.
Yeah. So
No
I
kidding.
rebuilt that trust, and, you know, it's repairing relationships and rebuilding trust is just like, you know, it's time and action, you know, action, living, you know, living that lifestyle,
Yeah.
you know, and so I think that, you know, we started to build our foundation for our relationship and for our marriage, and in those first couple years there in my sobriety.
Yeah.
You know.
Was it a little rocky going, or?
100%.
Yeah.
Still to this day, there's, you know, obviously it's like, but yeah, those time periods of me lying and,
Yeah.
you know, just, it's hard to, you know, that's damage to your relationships.
Yes.
You know, my parents, like, you know, I've spent a lot of time like repairing those relationships, but.
And have you gone through like the 12-step program then?
Yep. Yeah, I've been through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've had a sponsor, and I've been to a lot of meetings, and I've been, you know, connected with recovery ever since I got sober, and you know, through my community and my job, my career, thankfully, like I'm in the position where I get to be of service to a lot of people on a regular basis. I get to like work with that mom or dad kid's struggling. I get to have that client that is struggling with something themselves. So through my work and through sobriety, it's just, you know, slowly repaired my relationships and yeah.
And so and how, like at what point did it start to really move in the right direction where it was getting repaired and the trust was you know?
Yeah, you know, in the first year, it's like, you know, the hope is up and still kind of like,
Because they've been there
down
before.
there. Yep.
Yeah.
But as time went on, you know, people, I think it's just like that hope takes over, and you're so happy that that person that you've seen struggling for so long, you know, doing well and becoming that person that they were meant to be, or living, you know, the life that they were.
Yeah. Their authentic self.
Their authentic self. And so, you know, I kind of hit the ground running, really, like as my sobriety, when I got out of treatment that time and started going all into my career and becoming a trainer and training people, and it just it built off it just it's like a snowball.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then my passion for what I do and working with people and helping people transform their own lives, you know, like I have a purpose. I had a purpose, you know, for the first time I had this purpose.
Wow.
And, you know, that was so huge for me, you know, like having been so broken down and kind of hopeless and lost in my identity, and, you know, didn't have a career and a calling. And so Fitness Quest 10 provided that for me. Not only like a career, but a purpose, and also some incredible like mentors and friends and people around me.
Wow. Okay, so how long after did you actually get married?
So we got married in 2 years after. This is 2014.
Yep.
And so I'd been at Fitness Quest 10 for 3 years. So it was 2 years after I got out of treatment that last time. And so, I got married in 2014, and then my wife and I have been going all into our careers.
And so how's the, what does she do, by the way?
My wife's getting her doctorate in psychology right now.
Go.
Yeah, so she's been a social worker.
Yeah, okay.
And a
That's
therapist,
right.
and worked for, she's worked at the prison. She's started in group homes, and then CPS, and then social work here in San Diego. She got her master's in social work at Columbia and a master's at San Diego State in Homeland Security. That was when she thought she was going to do the FBI route.
Yeah.
And now she's getting her doctorate in psychology right now.
And how old is she?
She is 38 also.
38.
Yep.
So would you say that her coming into your life, talk to me about that real quick. How monumental is the arrival of your wife into your life?
The biggest. That was the biggest factor in my life. My family, my friends, my community, coaches.
Yeah.
The army of people trying to save me for years and years. Her coming into my life, my wife she's a force of nature. And she's, somebody that, she's very tough, and, she just definitely had a huge impact on me getting my life back on track. Because despite how hard I was trying to continue that lifestyle that I had been on, she did everything in her power to get me sober and help me get sober, and
Wow, man.
yeah, she's a powerful lady.
She's a force of nature.
She's a saint.
She's a saint.
Yeah.
Your guardian angel, I think.
Yeah.
I think we're safe to say.
Yeah.
And so what do you think? What if she hadn't come into your life?
It's hard to tell, really. It's hard to tell if she hadn't come into my life, if I hadn't, found Fitness Quest 10, there were certain things that were like these lifelines.
Yes.
It was like I met Sam. She was this, bright light in my life that was pulling me out of the darkness. And then I still was still caught up. And then I found Fitness Quest 10, and it was pulling me out and giving me hope and giving me purpose. And so, it was like.
And so when did you had your first baby at about probably
2016.
16.
Yes. So at this time, I'm building up my career at Fitness Quest 10, becoming a trainer and just training more and more, and became like the busiest trainer there, and was just all into my career there. And Sam was doing well and making different career choices and stuff, and we've had incredible support from the community there, with my family and Fitness Quest 10, and so then we had the amazing blessing of having a son, and that's been a complete, just incredible.
Tell me about being a dad. What's that done for you?
Man, it's like my purpose and commitment to myself and my sobriety has just like doubled, and it's just such an incredible thing to be a parent, right? And my son Knox is just such a huge source of joy in mine and Sam's life, and there were times, where having a wife or a kid or a family, that wasn't even on the radar.
Yep.
And now it's like I got this. Me and my son are super close, and you're really close this year right now. Especially my wife's, she flies to Sacramento every week.
Yeah.
For her residency at UC Davis Hospital. So she's gone Monday through Friday. So it's like me and Knox.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're like walking to school, sleeping together.
Yeah.
We're hanging out.
Wow.
Like, and I'm coaching t-ball and soccer, and I'm just gotta have this life that's beyond,
Beyond what you could even imagine.
Yeah.
That should, frankly, it's a miracle.
It's a miracle. Yeah. Yeah.
So for everybody watching and listening, give me some pearls here, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because your story is freaking incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, I can go on forever on this. Because I've had some powerful stories so far, but this one's unbelievable.
Well, thanks.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And to look at you, you just would never think.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yep.
You're so give me some pearls here, man, for people that are that need hope, that are struggling still,
Totally.
that are going through, because from what I understand, you're always recovering. You're never recovered.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Can you give me anything like we're going to wrap this up and give me something like, you talked about your son and you're getting emotional here, and I freaking love that, dude, because I know how powerful that is, man.
Yeah.
My daughter has gotten me through the roughest times of my life because of the joy, because of that beautiful, this beautiful bliss energy that they have is so, therapeutic for us as humans.
Yeah.
Because they just don't know anything's going wrong.
Yeah, I know.
And you can feed
Just
off that.
innocence, that pure joy. Yeah.
So would you say that your son at this point's a big driving factor for you staying sober?
Absolutely. He's a big inspiration in my life, just to be a better person, a better man, a better father, a better son. Having a kid is a blessing, and I don't take that lightly, and remind retelling this story is therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
It reminds me, like, I was given a second chance here, second chance on life.
Yeah.
And I have
probably more than that. Second, third, fourth, fifth.
I've had many chances.
Yeah.
And, I don't know why, life works out the way it does. We don't know why these things happen, why I got out of the addiction that I was in, why I didn't die in this overdose, why I see my mom's friend regularly who lost her son who was my age to an overdose. Like, why is she going through that and not my parents?
Yeah.
Because if I would have overdosed and died, like, you might as well have buried my parents with me.
Right.
Yep. And so, what it's done for me and my family, I think all of us, it's given us a perspective and insight on life and experience and what other people are going through, that empathy that you can't have unless you've been there. And, you just never know what battles people are facing, right?
Right.
You don't. You see what you see on social media, but you don't know what somebody's gone through, or what that guy on the corner, what his story is, or, what those people in your life that think, you think everything's going great for them. You don't know what battles they're facing.
Yep.
So I have learned that, you never know I know that I've been put in a position where I never know the impact that I'm going to have on somebody on any given day. And I know that for me, the biggest things that have helped me have been finding a community of people that's what Fitness Quest 10 is for me today.
Yep.
And now that's my baby now, right?
Right.
That's my other baby besides Knox, is Fitness Quest 10. And so that's why I am in the middle of the herd, because I got all these people that I'm either trying to help or they're trying to help me. And, so finding a community, surrounding yourself with people that lift you up.
Yep.
Like people like JD right here. I felt that from the day one that we met. Mentors, like, having mentors, whether it's through your church or your work or whatever it is. But, I've been very blessed, and, To whom much is given, much is required.
That's right.
And I've been given a lot. I've been given a lot since day one.
Yep.
And I went through some trials and tribulations. But now, like, what I've taken from that is that it's my responsibility. I have a responsibility to pay it forward, you know, to be there as a role model or a mentor for somebody that might need it. You know, I've been given a lot. I've been given many chances. I've been given this health.
Yeah.
Like the health that I have. And so, you know, I try and remind myself not to get, you know, stay in gratitude. You know, those times that I've been the most grateful have been like early on in my sobriety. And you can't force yourself to like be grateful like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like for those times early on, I remember like in my sobriety and stuff, just being so grateful. And as things get good, it gets harder to,
Yes.
You know, you get more things, you acquire more, you know, money or success but, you know, that's not the important stuff.
Right.
Right? It's the people. It's the relationships in your family. Family first, always for me.
Yep.
And, you know, the people in your life that you're impacting on a daily basis. So,
Big.
That's big.
That's what it's all about.
It is.
How are your parents at this point? Are they just super, super, super
Yeah.
happy and proud? And
Yeah. It's they deserve.
I've met your mom a couple times.
Yeah.
She's a trip.
She's awesome. Yeah,
She's
you
awesome,
gotta
dude.
meet my dad sometime.
She's awesome.
My dad's my biggest hero. But you know, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
To see my parents be able to live their life, you know, being proud parents.
Yeah.
That's who they
Yeah.
They did everything to raise great kids.
They did.
And we went through some really tough times, but now they get to live that, you know, being a proud parent. And, you know, and I'm in this position right now with my folks where they live in Scripps Ranch and they help, you know, with my son all the time, and they come to the gym all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, and people tell my mom all the time, like, you have the nicest boys, like.
Yeah.
And we just sometimes, it's kind of like that. We look at them and go, oh, you have no idea. Kind of deal. You know, like a lot of people, they never expect kind of like what, they would never know what I've been through or what our family's been through. If you just looked at our family today.
I'm in that boat because
Yeah.
I remember meeting your mother. I said, I love your son. He's an amazing guy.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, yeah. He's great.
Let me tell you a few other things about him.
Yeah.
But
Dude,
no, my parents we're all very grateful. You know, it's like it's the kind of gratitude that you have or perspective that you get. It's like you earn that because you've been places, right?
Yep.
Like my mom has the ability to have empathy for other people that might be going through things because of what she went through as a parent. My wife, my sister, my brother, you know. So our family's a lot stronger, I think, because of it.
And would you say your relationship with your wife is stronger than, like, it's just gotten stronger and stronger?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There were tough
Amazing.
times in the beginning, but, you know, now we're like, you know, I share with her all the time about, you know, stuff that people are going through, and we can kind of be a source of strength or hope for our friends or people we know, or, you know.
I got to tell you, man, God has a calling on your life.
Oh, thanks.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're fully aware of that now.
I am. Yeah.
Because it's the only reason you're still here.
Yeah.
He's got a calling on your life, man, and it's special. You know, the impact that you're making not only on a daily basis here at Fitness Quest 10 in people's lives, but frankly, I think you're scratching the surface here. I don't even think you're only 38.
Yeah.
Like you're really young.
Yeah.
So you haven't even made the impact that you're even meant to make yet.
Yep.
I fully believe that.
Yeah.
You know, and be able to share this story today with me, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being really open, raw,
man.
transparent. I know this was a bit rough at times, but hopefully Again, listeners and watchers, this was powerful, man.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to call you a friend. I'm proud to know you. I'm freaking so excited to connect further with you. This story, I'm so inspired. I feel I don't know, I've got this overwhelming sense of just, I just feel connected to you now. Like, I really want to be a part of your life and our lives together and our families.
Absolutely.
This is special stuff, man.
Absolutely. The feeling's mutual, JD.
Yeah.
And I've you've inspired me since I met you, and I love the man that you are in the community with your family. I love seeing your posts and you're just being, sharing that love that you do have for your family and the community and the energy that you have and everything like that. And so, I appreciate you asking those questions and having me on today and giving me the opportunity to talk about that stuff, because it's like, I heard a friend of mine at a meeting recently say, we have to recover loudly.
Yes.
So that others don't die quietly.
That's it right there, man. I was thinking that's right on the money.
So it's like, it's not stuff. It's a tough topic. It's not something I'm proud about. It's my story. Like, dude, that was like, this is just the surface of it.
I'm sure.
Oh, we could be here all day.
Yes.
But
Wow.
it's important to be real about that. Like if you look at my life today, you don't see all the pain and the suffering and just, that's going on. People are struggling.
They are.
And addiction is a nasty disease that does not discriminate.
Nope.
And, so if you are battling out there, or you have somebody in your family that's battling, love them. Don't give up hope. Reach out.
Yep.
Call me.
Yeah.
Come to Fitness Quest 10.
Yeah. Get yourself a community.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, you're just scratching the surface, bro. This story is gonna be so inspiring and help a lot of people.
Thank you.
And we need to get it out there even more.
Yeah.
Like your guy said, recover loudly.
Yep.
So, dude, appreciate you coming in. Real Deal Talk. That's a wrap.
It.
Love you, bro.
Love you, man. Appreciate you.
That's a wrap.
That's it.
Fitness Quest 10. Real
Let's
Deal
go.
Talk. Let's
Come
go.
see me.